All right, I believe we are live. It's ladies' night. I'm not going to sing. Maybe I'll ask one of our guests to sing in a little bit, but I'm not going to sing that. But it is ladies' night. Welcome, everyone. Hi, everybody on Facebook. This is exciting. Before we get started, I just want to mention that we would love to hear from you. So if you are here and watching live on Facebook this evening, we'd love you to drop your name in the comments. Let us know where you're from. We'd love to say hello. And yeah, welcome to Ladies Night. All right. All right, I am going to get started. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Colleen. I am the COO of Boom by Cindy Joseph. And again, this is Ladies Night. I think we're on maybe the 5th or 6th Ladies Night. And so it's getting so much more fun. I really look forward to spending this time with you all each month. And I hope that you enjoy it. We have some really special guests this evening. So if you're new to Ladies Night, this is our chance to kind of just hang out and chat about anything and everything, really. Sometimes we're talking about what's happening here at Boom. Sometimes we're talking about makeup. Sometimes we're just after 50. And I can finally speak to that because I did turn 50 this year. So I'm in the 50 club, yay! And it's wonderful. I personally love these hangouts because I get to know you all a little bit better. And I also have the pleasure of chatting with amazing women like the 2 ambassadors that are joining me this evening. So I'm going to introduce you all to them right now. First, we have LaJuan Carter-Dent. So if you've been following our blog, you may have caught her Pro Age video earlier this week. And we are also joined by Sandy Evenson. And she has an amazing video also on our blog. Where she talks about her day and night makeup tips. And we're going to get to those a little bit later. So I would love for you ladies to kind of tell us a little bit more about yourself. LaJuan, if you want to go first.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited. I am LaJuan Carter-Dent.
LaJuan, if you could lean in just a teeny bit more. I think the mic is just not picking you up super well. So
okay, is that better?
Yes, much better. Yay, we want to hear every word.
I think as a singer, I project better. I'm in my comfy couch, so
yeah.
I will project better, as I should. I'm LaJuan Carter-Dent. I am 53 years old. I am the mom of 3, the wife of 1 that I know of. And I have been a professional singer and songwriter for close to 40 years. And I sort of came upon Boom at a really interesting time. I was sort of looking at videos prior to the pandemic, but when the pandemic hit, the music world was rocked pretty hard. And so I was looking for just new ways to sort of reinvent myself, sort of get rid of the old, start with the new. And that's sort of how I chanced upon Boom.
Nice.
And so it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Aside from just amazing people who work at the company, I really think it sort of allowed me to sort of, shed some of the old stuff and really sort of feel good about this time in my life and all that brings. So that's 5 seconds.
I love that. I love that. And that's even just a little teaser about some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. So yeah, so thank you so much, LaJuan. And Sandy, let's hear a little bit more about you.
Well, hey, Colleen, thank you. Yes, I'm Sandy Evenson. I am, most people know me as the hairdresser-turned-coach. I'm a transformational coach. And I spend most of my time helping other women like those who are listening, watching tonight, through the stress of life, particularly frustration and anxiety, self-doubt, working through some blocks to have what they're looking for, which is peace, joy, and abundance of health and wealth and all those things that we all look for. So what's really fun for me is that I'm able to use my experience from behind the chair became a really good listener a long time ago in my coaching. And now I've just created a course I'm about to launch where I'm mixing everything I've learned about being on camera, everything I know about the beauty industry and the tips and tricks from hairdressers on hair and makeup and wardrobe, with the deep work to deal with the inner critic in all of us, to help women of the pro age feel comfortable on camera and be able to promote themselves and get out there on social media like this. So it's just really fun for me. I am 71, and I did kind of reinvent myself to become a coach back about 3 years ago. I actually left the business entirely to concentrate on doing it full time. And I found Boom several years ago because I was looking for a stick blush. Simply that, because I knew once we turn 50, we drop the powders and go to everything creamy. And the one I'd been using, they didn't have anymore, or it was out of stock or something. The only one they had was way too orange for me. And yeah. I saw that whole video on Cindy and thought, well, okay, let me just try the trio. Never looked back. I've been a fan ever since. And in that course I created, I'm teaching how to use it. Actually, it's part of what I do in the demo as well.
That's awesome.
Really fun.
Amazing. It's so much fun to hear a little bit more about you ladies. We're going to dig in and go deep on some of these topics too. And I love that. It's so true. Like the saying, the hairdresser knows everything. We do. We kind of just build that relationship with our hairdressers, right? We're sitting there. We are a captive audience. Yes. And so I love that. I love that you've taken that ability, that, I'm sure love for nurturing and building relationships. So that's very cool. Very cool. So, so I'm just going to kind of let everyone know what we're going to be talking about tonight. Tonight is pretty special. So LaJuan, Sandy, and I are going to be talking about a couple topics we've never really covered on a Boom Ladies Night before, including, and as I said, LaJuan kind of hinted at it, reinventing yourself after 50, or at any time during your life, really. It doesn't have to be after 50, but just the idea of reinventing yourself. And also, we've noticed that everyone has makeup questions during Boom Ladies Night. So I just want to let you know that we are going to be swapping some makeup ideas a little bit later on at the end of tonight's hangout. So if you're here for the makeup tips, definitely stick around. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff first, and then we're going to touch on some makeup tips. I also want to give one quick reminder that we are running a giveaway with Boom, and we're giving away $50 to spend in our Boom store. We're going to be picking 5 winners at random at the end of this week. So if you haven't entered yet, you can enter to win right now. It only takes a couple seconds, and you should see the link in the Facebook. So you can enter in the comments below. It's in the comments below. And so with that, we're going to dive right in. We're going to talk about reinventing yourself. So reinventing yourself, again, like I said, after 50 is sort of, since it's Boom Ladies Night, I want to talk about reinventing certain parts of our lives. We had to reinvent certain parts of our lives out of necessity this year. I mean, let's face it, it was definitely an odd year, but we're not going to be talking about those types of changes necessarily. We're zooming out even further out. We're going to talk about major life shifts that can happen again at any age, like new careers, new relationships, new business opportunities, new hobbies, new adventures, new moves, like a big move across the country, or even just into a new home across town, real changes that are kind of transcend, 2020, which certainly has, as I said, has its own bunch of changes too, I'm sure. So I just want to give a little bit of context. So our founder, as many of you watching know, Cindy Joseph, was a master of reinvention. She started out in life as a professional makeup artist, and she went around the world practicing her makeup skills on models for 27 years. And then at 49, she became a model herself. And then at 61, she started her own company, Boom. And that's, because of Cindy reinventing herself, that's why we're all here right now talking, because she was always ready to try something new. And over the years, we've heard from so many women who are reinventing themselves in amazing and sometimes unusual ways. And if you're already reinventing yourself, we'd love to hear about it tonight too. So feel free to drop a comment below and tell us how you reinvented your life. And so while we've had tons of stories, we've also received a lot of questions over the years from women who are looking to reinvent themselves and take on new challenges or just start something new. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. So I'm going to throw this question out to you ladies. So what do you think about this idea of reinvention? And can you tell us a story of when you reinvented yourself in some way? I will start with you, Sandy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Recently, I thought this topic was so great when you came up with it, because recently I've been doing sort of a timeline through my life and those synchronistic moments that when you do make a shift and a change, I thought, oh my goodness, I've done it way more often than I thought, right? We all do. And I think my biggest major one was definitely jumping from the beauty industry and doing what I do now. And, thinking about doing that, I always called it the sanctity of the chair, where, the women especially could talk about their lives and feel safe. They absolutely, you said it, Colleen, they tell us things that they don't tell anybody else, not a best friend, a spouse, a priest, it doesn't matter. We would hear it and be with them for their most important events of their life. So I watched a lot of transformation, and I would help women through that just by changing their look sometimes would help them get through it. So now it's more that inner part, that inner shift. And when I went through it myself recently, it was more of a shock at the end of it than it was in the beginning, because sometimes we just dive in, right? And so 3 years ago, as I said, I was 68. And I said, that's it. I'm just completely stopping. But I also am a widow. I moved out of the South back north. And I'm with a man, a brand new, wonderful relationship where we've been together about 3 years, known each other for many years. And so there's all this reinvention going on, of course.
Wow. Yeah, this is a question for you. Yeah.
It's been amazing.
That's amazing.
So, I highly recommend it, to never stay stuck where you are. To always look at the possibilities. It's never too late. Yeah. You're never too old. It's always a possibility.
Well put. I love that. That's a heartwarming story. LaJuan, how about you?
So I have an interesting story, a little bit of a backstory. Speaking of Cindy, actually, my grandmother was actually, her and my grandfather and 3 other people started the first modeling agency in the United States for women of color.
Wow.
It was in the 40s, and she came to New York as a model of color and could not find opportunities because there were just none. Advertising didn't believe in...
Can I stop you for one more second? I'm so sorry, LaJuan. We're having trouble hearing you, and we want to hear every word. Yeah. And I think, I'm not sure. I know that you mentioned yesterday you had a headset.
Do you want me to try that?
I mean, it might be better. We just don't want to miss anything. And, this is being recorded, and it would just.
All right. Well, let me get that.
Okay. We will fill the time. I will talk a little bit about my reinvention, which, and I'll just make this really, really quick. For me, I I started out as a graphic designer, an artist, a fine artist. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, and, you know, really kind of was into getting my fingers dirty and started working for a web company, you know, to pay the bills. And, you know, as I learned how to, I should say, I learned over jobs over the years that people was really my favorite medium. So I started leading teams and so that was, you know, certainly not, you know, just yesterday or in my 50s. I just started my 50s, but it is something that I feel like has led me to where I'm at today, and why I get the privilege and honor of speaking with you ladies, because people are my thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's try again, LaJuan.
Okay. Now, does this sound better?
Oh my goodness.
So much better. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have on my son's blue Beat headphones, so I don't know how cute they're going to look, but at least you guys can hear the story.
They
Okay.
look so cute. And yes, the most important thing is that we can hear you.
Okay. So backtrack a little bit. So my grandmother, her name was Ophelia DeVore, and she and my grandfather, Harold Carter, and 3 other people started the first modeling industry for people of color in the United States. They've actually been recognized in the Kennedy Center. I mean, she was pretty much a civil rights pioneer, because at the time there were no opportunities for models of color. They were just not present in advertising. And so she started this business and really did amazing things, spoke with Madison Avenue, got them to understand the value of seeing a spectrum of people in magazine ads and on television commercials. And she actually became a newspaper publisher. And so ironically, part of that business also became a self-development, self-confidence. We used to call it charm schools back in the day. And so her purpose became greater than just sort of getting exposure for women's outer beauty. She really pushed for people to start seeing value in who they were, no matter what they looked like, no matter what shade, no matter what age. And so, funny enough, as I became a singer, and I sort of got into music because of her, she would have these grand fashion shows at the Plaza and the Waldorf Astoria. Wow. And I literally would get up and sing at 13 to just fill time while the models were changing their clothes.
Love it.
But I also, as I got older, I also became part of the family business and would do coaching on self-confidence and just general, you know, preparedness for business and life. And about 7 or 8 years ago, as my singing career started to shift a little bit, I became a vocal coach. Really just because I wanted to fill time, and, you know, work seemed like it was sort of slowing down. And I said, well, I know singing, and I realized in doing that how much of what I had learned from my grandmother's business and sort of the whole coaching aspect, you know, my ability to do it came from that. And I think with especially young female students particularly, I spend just as much time talking about self-confidence and believing in yourself as I do about singing beautiful notes. It's really, it's deeper than that. And I think sometimes with singing, we sort of feel very judged, you know, we sort of wear it on our sleeves. If someone says, you can't sing, you're like, ah. Right. So I talk to them more about that. So that's sort of how I started reinventing myself. And I pulled from that history a little bit. And now that's a major part of my career as well.
I love that. I love that. So really, like, 2 coaches. We are in the presence of greatness, two coaches, and for women too, which is really amazing. So Sandy, I know you know, obviously coach women on finding success and knocking down obstacles. And so based on your experience, what advice would you give someone looking to reinvent their lives? I know we touched on it a little bit, but to be more specific.
Reinvention is a big one for me, is to stay curious, to really look at curiosity and ask you, wonder if, have that sense of wonder, and using imagination to spark that creativity, to look at, I wonder if I could do this, or I could be this. and to just play around with it. Always looking at that inner core of yourself. What do you need? What do you need to feed? Because I think as we get older, we finally see in this pro age that we have a lot to give, a lot to share. And we don't need to stay quiet. We don't need to play small. We can really do more. And I like the idea of giving yourself permission to do that. And then imagine yourself even a year or two ahead. What is that optimum person you want to be? Who is she? What does she look like? Where is she? What does she wear? What does she do? But really, well, how does she feel? Is she joyful and vibrant and loving and all the different things that you might be looking for? And then take that feeling and embody it now. And every day, remember, oh yeah, that's what I want to feel. And it will start you on your path.
I love that. I'm glad we're recording this because that is, it's very succinct, like actionable advice, which is great. How about you, LaJuan? Do you have any specific advice that you could give, a young woman, any woman really, who's looking to take on a new challenge or?
Sure. One of the things I talk about a lot with my students is being authentic and genuine. And I remember that as a younger singer, I was caught up in a lot of the technicalities of singing. Could I hit every note in tune and double myself, a lot of musical technical stuff. And it took me a while to really sort of appreciate those iconic singers who just had these unique personalities, regardless of how well they could sing. And I grew to love that so much. Really, if you think about the biggest singers that we know, Cyndi Lauper or Mick Jagger or Madonna, some people could argue whether or not they're technically great singers, but what's great about them is that they're unique and they are genuine to who they are, and they just trudge their own path and they stick with it. And so when I'm coaching younger singers, I really tell them, don't worry about comparing yourself to somebody else. Don't worry about trying to sound like somebody else. Just work on you. Find the things you love about your voice and ride that wave. And that will take you so much further than you trying to replicate someone else's career or sound like somebody else. And that was something I got a little bit later in life, but my dad actually tried to teach me that, but I was pretty stubborn. And of course, I followed all the big singers of my day. But later on, I really got to value and appreciate that greatly.
I love that. And I want to say one of our guests who's watching us live on Facebook, her name is Michelle. She said, that's what she wants. She wants her joy back. So she just, being inspired by what you're saying, as am I. This is so cool. I know we're opening it up to questions. We don't have any questions just at the moment. So if anyone has any questions for LaJuan or Sandy or myself, drop them in the chat. And I'm going to move along to another topic, which going to reveal a little secret here. We have like a little everyone the night before. So I got to meet LaJuan and Sandy last night just to work out the tech, to make sure that technically you can hear and see everyone. And so that's super fun. So I did get a little sneak peek into how tonight was going to go. And I'm so excited to talk to both of you because you're both so creative and in such creative fields. And, I want to talk a little bit about embracing creativity and how you stay creative, at any age. As everyone out there watching us on Facebook can tell, these are extremely creative. As we mentioned, LaJuan is a singer-songwriter who sang with, I'm going to name drop because you didn't really name drop to it, Stevie Wonder, Celine Dion, Harry Connick Jr. I know the list goes on, but like those stood out to me like, wow, like this is amazing. and lots of others again. And then Sandy coaches women on how to create, changes. And as we're talking about reinventing ourselves, so, these ladies really are walking the walk and talking the talk. They really are living this every day, reinvention and creativity. And so I want to talk a little bit about creativity. I think this is going to be a really fun section. And I read something recently that really resonated with me because, again, as I said, I was a bachelor. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I was a fine arts major, photography and graphic design. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm a Jersey girl too. So I thought, all right, I'm going to, and LaJuan knows, like, they call them the bridge and tunnel rat, which just basically means you live in Jersey, but you work in Manhattan, and you either have to take the bridge or the tunnel to get there because it's too expensive. I just thought that's my story. And so talk about reinventing yourself. I now live in Southern California, and I do none of that stuff in terms of, for a career. And so I was reading this, an article by a life coach who I follow. And she was talking about how painting is her guilty pleasure. She likes to paint. And so I can relate to that. My career is not in the arts necessarily, but I love to, I love to make stationery and little ornaments, and I like to crafting and things like that. I like to be creative. I like to keep my hands busy with that sort of stuff. But I was struggling, especially lately. You get into a stride in your career, and I was getting into this headspace where I would feel guilty. Every time I was doing that, I thought, well, how do I turn it into a business? I'm spending all this time, I'm not making any money doing it. I'm not selling it. I'm not turning it into a business. Okay, so maybe I'll start a website or a Facebook page, or, get my stuff out there. And then how will I make, a series of these, instead of just enjoying what I was doing and creating that one little thing. I had to constantly, and it was exhausting. I will say that. And it sort of just killed that buzz that you get from being creative, from getting in the zone. As I remember, we always used to call it back in art school, we got in the zone last night and we, painted for hours, and the time just disappears. Right. And so I've really had to focus on letting go of that as a block. It doesn't have to be this masterpiece, and it doesn't have to be something that I sell or that I make money doing, or that serves some greater purpose other than just, it gives me pleasure in the moment. It is my creative outlet, I call it. And, I made the conscious decision, or had to make this conscious decision not to complicate it. So I'm curious, I think creativity is just one of those things that, keeps you loving, your life as you age. How can I turn that into, this creativity into pleasurable life, really. And, it keeps me in a pro-age mindset, believe it or not. Because, you're constantly, when you're creating, you're problem solving, really. You're creating this problem for yourself, and then you are solving it. And so every time you start another new creative project, you're kind of you're going on a little adventure, and it gives your mind something to kind of think through and break down the steps and then solve. You get to make choices, and for me, I get to choose the papers or the colors or whatever it might be. And so you're solving problems. And I think that, you have to have sort of this adventurous spirit to say, I'm going to put this thing out there for myself to figure out. And I think that for me, anyway, that, that's very pro-age. Pro-age is sort of pro-creativity.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would love to hear, how each of you, LaJuan, I'll start with you. How how do you flex those creative muscles, either in your career or outside your career? You know, do you have any creative habits that you can share with us?
Oh gosh, no. I mean, you know, it's sort of a blessing and a curse sometimes when you're a creative person, because you really do get consumed by it. And if it brings you a lot of joy, sometimes a lot of other things get sacrificed. Probably, you know, all those things we should, you know, I lack organization sometimes, and stick-to-itiveness, and so many other things that, you know, that sort of is consumed by creativity. But I will say this, I love now being in a space with younger people who are sort of exposing me to stuff that I would not naturally go to, because, you know, I'm just used to the music and the art that I know and love. And it's really fun when they introduce me to things, and I can also show them, oh, well, look, did you realize that this song sort of, you know, has this element from it from, you know, 40 years ago? So it's sort of a mutual learning experience. But just as far as just general creativity, for me, I'm in a real audiobook zone right now, and I just love not only hearing stories, but listening to people tell stories. So sort of moving myself away from music a little bit. And I think that actually helps me as a writer, just with storytelling in general. I used to be fairly decent at fine art, and that sort of has escaped me a little bit, but I sort of love all the things you do too. So little, you know, arts and crafts. I just think, you know, finding joy, and like you said, like not feeling guilty about it, just,
Right.
you know, sort of diving into it and enjoying it for all that it is and the joy that it brings you.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And that's why that piece by this life coach really, like, you know, when something resonates, it really resonates. And I thought, it's like she's reading my mind. This is exactly how I feel. And, you know, once you recognize it and accept it, that's when you're able to kind of change it and, you know, move away. I realize that is not really healthy. Like, I work hard. I deserve to spend time doing what I love. That's just right. Because I love doing it. It doesn't have to be a means to some other end. So,
and I think that's something too that does sort of come as you trip into your 40s and your 50s. You know, you start to embrace all those things that do bring you joy, and that you are deserving of them. You know, we get so, I think women in general, just we're sort of prone to, or maybe it's a little bit of nature, some of it's nurture. We're used to putting kids first, our jobs first, other things like that. And I think there's just like a light switch that goes off when you get into your 40s and your 50s. You're like, you know what, I've earned this time. I've earned everything I want to do, and I'm going to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sandy?
Oh my gosh, I could take off on both of you. What you're saying I've been making little notes. I want to say, first of all, Colleen, know that painting is a form of meditation. Mm-hmm. That it's really, you know, when you paint, you can't think of anything else, whether you're drawing or sketching or doing any type of work like that. And so when you talk about being in the zone, you really, you know, it's a very meditative state, and it's very connected to your inner spirit, all that stuff. So it's beautiful. And I think the guilt comes up. It's the idea of, what will other people think? I'm supposed to be producing. I can't do, you know, and there's that inner, even subconscious, that comes from way back when we were young even, and we get that. And I think it's important to get in touch with your inner child. You know, what were you doing when you were a kid that you loved to do? Mm-hmm. What was it that helped you have a creative space, and get in touch with that? Because one of the things I've found, especially in my coaching, is that when things come up and we struggle, whether we're just having an off day or we're really having some difficulties, whether it's up with an anxiety or down or depressed, we have not been paying attention to that inner child. to that part of us that needs to go take a walk, to read a book, to paint a picture, to do those things. So it's really important to pay attention to it. And the creativity piece, so many people, and I think a lot of women don't think they're creative because they'll see somebody else who can really sing, who can really paint, who can do things, and they don't get that, hey, you're the best cook I've ever seen. You're like a chef, a gourmet cook. Or you write well, you tell stories really well. Whatever those things are, people deny themselves those. And I'm so glad you're bringing this subject up tonight, because creativity is also not only when you get something like you said, Colleen, where you're solving a problem. If you're having a problem, go get creative, because it will help you work the problem out. It's really interesting how that works, but it's like a catch-22 or whatever. So that it's a huge connection. And I just got to say, in the terms of makeup and hair and all that stuff, you can get creative with yourself by trying things out, you know, put that blush a little different, get a new haircut, you know, just try something that might change, reinvent you, and give you creativity at the same time.
Right. I love that. I love that point about you're sort of like flushing the system. You know, you're cleaning out the whole, like if you're stuck somewhere, you may not realize, and it could be a work problem, go solve another problem. It's like that, just that feeling of, hey, I can solve a problem. And then you kind of come back with fresh eyes. And yeah, and it's something that I still struggle with. And I have to work on, I have to remind myself that also that this was a point I meant to make too, is one of my professors said, you know, everything doesn't have to be so precious. And I remember that word precious. It's like, I was always thinking like, well, this thing, this piece of paper, this card, this whatever, that I paid money for the pieces, like it can't be garbage when I'm done. It has to be like precious. It has to be perfect. It has to be giftable or whatever. It can't just be an exercise in creativity. It has to be something else. And I really, you know, worked hard to remind myself when I get into it, it's like, it's, you know, this is just for me. This is just, and if something beautiful comes out of it that I can then gift or display, or great, that's just icing on the cake. But really the cake is the doing of the thing, the creative process. And that's where you get in the zone. You don't get in the zone thinking about, I'm going to make, you know, a set of 5 cards that I'm then going to sell to or give to somebody or whatever. You just do it because you love putting colors together, or, you know, for me, I'm obsessed with paper, you know, different textures of paper and the color, you know, that's what it's about for me. It's just about, and that has nothing to do with any of the other things that, you know, if you get into your head, you start to attach these other things to it. So it's really, you have to kind of go down into your heart, and like, that's what, you know, that's what it's about for me, the creativity part. Really feeds you.
And it's beautiful too, LaJuan, what you said about listening to audiobooks, which I also love. I, not too long ago, gave myself permission to listen to fiction while I cook, while I'm chopping vegetables and cooking, because I'm always reading and listening for my own self-development, but also for my coaching to help me. Oh, wow, there's another thing. That's stress, right? So to be able to tell ourselves it's okay, make it a non-negotiable. We need to even pencil things in on our calendar or type them in now to say, this is for me.
Absolutely.
Whatever that is, you know, because women particularly, and it's not, you know, excluding men, but it's just part of who we are as nurturers, that we spend a long time giving, doing. And the people who come to me, a lot of them come when their bodies and their emotions and minds are falling apart. Because everything that you don't take care of emotionally ends up in your body somewhere. And I just want to reach out to everybody out there tonight to give yourself permission.
That's right.
take some time, even the 5-minute scrub with the boom.
Yeah.
Time for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
love that. That's a great reminder.
Yeah.
So LaJuan, I'm curious if you, talking about, being creative, like I call it like my little sketch times. Do you do that with your singing? Do you sort of, I'm sure you sing, around the house, and on top of that, would you, don't feel any pressure, but would you sing?
Oh my God. Oh man. It's so funny. In my head, I always semi-prep for it, and then I forget, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't prep. So I always want to sing something semi-poignant, I guess. I don't know. I could do, well, yes, it's ladies' night, and the feeling's right. Oh, yes, it's ladies' night. Oh, what a night. There's my Cool in the Gang. But, it's so funny. It's just that singing is just, it's my world. And even when I try and get away from it, it's still my world. I often talk to musicians who just say, even when we go out to dinner, we can't help it. Our ears go right to the music coming out the walls. It's just, we're always pulled into that. But to Sandy's point, I just love what she said about allowing yourself to just have an escape and not feel guilty about it. So right. I'm a real news junkie, and it's bad, and we're sort of in heavy times right now. And what I do with my audibles, I'm like, you know what? I'm really going to just read some kind of nonfiction crazy, just something that totally takes me away from this, because I know I can get sucked into that too. So it is so important to just find, ways to escape. And if I'll just add, we talked about joy, but one tick up for that for me is fun. Not just joy, but fun, things that make you laugh. And I sometimes just around the house, I will literally put on, TV Land, or just like mindless sitcoms in the background that I'm not even really focused on, but I know if I catch a joke, it'll make me smile, it'll make me laugh. And I feel it's so important to keep that kind of happy, joyful energy in your life. And I became a better singer the minute I had fun on stage, not worrying about if I was perfect, not worrying about how many applause I got, but literally, and I was throwing my hands in the air and dancing. And that's when, and I became a better vocalist by just having more fun while I was doing it.
I love that. You are speaking our language over here.
Amen.
Yes, especially at Boom, I have to say, it's work, it's a job. Like everything we do is for the business, but our number one rule around here is it's got to be fun. I mean, fun is the goal. In everything that we do. There's always some joy in what we do, even the tech issues that you have, and what like we're growing, we're learning from it, but it's also we take things lightly. We have fun with things, we have fun with it. So I love that you brought that up, because it really is, it's really the other secret ingredient. Creativity and joy is fun. It's got to be fun.
Exactly. And it's doing that thing where, let's just say it's a tech issue, instead of getting upset about it, just, well, isn't that interesting? Using that statement will get you out of so much trouble and keep you above getting sucked into stuff. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love how you mentioned, LaJuan, obviously this isn't the stage with Stevie Wonder, but the first and second, maybe even the third, like the ladies' night, I was so stressed about, getting the questions right and making sure that, there were no hiccups in it, when meanwhile, like, life is full of hiccups.
Of course. And
people, and hi everyone watching us on Facebook, like, you understand, like, things go sideways sometimes, and bear with us when there's little things, but to kind of acknowledge that happens, and and just roll with it, just have fun with it.
That's another thing I sort of talk to students about is perspective. I mean, by all means, art is incredibly important. It, it sometimes even saves lives, if for people who that's their only outlet, or that's the only way they can express themselves. So it's super important. But sometimes I also tell my students, I said, we're just singing a song. We're not running into a burning building. So if you can keep a little perspective, you'll get through it. I promise you, when they deal with nerves and stuff. So perspective is everything too.
Yeah. I love that. Love that. We kind of covered this a little bit, but any specific advice for, any women out there who are looking to take on like some new creative challenge? Well, and then we'll kind of wrap this section up. I know we want to talk about makeup too. So
yeah, I would just say, if there's something that, is tugging on your heart, just make time in the week, even if it's just 2 hours a week or something. Just say, I'm going to set aside this time to explore this, whether it's just getting online and learning more about it, or getting a sketchbook from the dollar store and drawing, if that's your thing, or if you want it to be a Greek. Just set aside the time for yourself and explore it and embrace every second of it.
That's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so perfect. It's just, thinking back of myself, it was, one program that I listened to that just had me diving into, oh my goodness. Now I know that I can help other people in such a deeper way.
Mm.
And, my whole mantra from the day I started doing hair was beauty from the inside out, which originally I thought it was just about making sure you feed yourself right and you take care of everything that feeds your hair and your skin and your nails, right? And then it just got more and more important to take care of the heart and soul of the women in that chair.
Yeah.
And the ability now, and I'll just segue into the boom stuff, because we take care of our inner body, we eat right, we do all that. And then what we put on top of the skin makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does.
So the idea that Cindy started to create this in such a healthy way is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to kind of add to that, I think, and one thing that I know Cindy had around her in this time of her life when she decided to start creating this, she had this idea, is that she surrounded herself with people who supported her in her creativity. And I think, that is certainly true of me, what I'm doing right now. Like a year ago, or maybe a little, more, if you told me I was going to be doing this, I would say, no, like that doesn't seem like something, even though I love to chat, like I am a chatter. I love people. I love meeting new people. Like, tell me all about yourself. I love all of that. But the idea of doing it for an audience, or like having people when, really, I had the support of my team and people around me who have done it before, and, who really just supported the entire creative process and help along the way with the creative process. And I think that's what's made the biggest difference for me in stepping into this as a creative role, is knowing that all these people have my back and will give me sound advice and will give me constructive criticism, because that's important too. If it's something that's really important that you want to get good at, is, to have that safe space in the people that you surround yourself with, who support your creative goal. And, you can have your own creative goal. That's your own, just your own thing. But if you want to expand it, any bigger than just yourself, that's available to you too. You just need that support system, those people around you that are going to cheer you on. Even if you're not the best singer or cook or whatever it is you want to do, they're gonna support you so that you can, find that fun and that joy that you're looking for in that creative thing too. Yeah, so that was super fun. We actually did get one question during that segment, LaJuan, and this is for you. Do you ever get earworms? Now, I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting.
Somebody out there knows what that is.
So I guess that's like a song that just sticks in your head over and over and over and over again. And yeah, I do. But don't we all, though? I mean, you know.
I never heard that term before. That's why I was like, what an appropriate question to ask.
Yeah, I don't think it's I'm pretty sure that's what they mean. Yeah, of course. It's just, and it's usually somehow it's attached to like a student's learning a song, and so I sort of have that in my head when I'm working out with them, and I just keep running it over and over. And oh, maybe I should help them do this. Maybe I should, you know. So right now there's a lot of Hamilton going on in my head because a lot of the students are doing Hamilton songs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Love it. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad that was not inappropriate because I didn't know what that was. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to ask her that, but I'm glad I did.
And now ladies' night's going to be everybody's earworm tonight.
Well, that is on my playlist, like on repeat. I love Kool and the Gang. That's one of my favorites. And of course that song. Once we decided to, you know, kind of call this gathering ladies' night, I was like, that is my jam. Love it. Love it so much. Awesome. So I'm going to switch gears now, and we're going to talk about makeup. And actually, we're going to talk specifically about how to switch to less makeup. So here at Boom, we like to say less makeup is more, especially after 50. And Sandy, you mentioned it earlier. It's kind of like, and I'm curious if you knew that before, you know, reading at Boom that like powders are kind of out after 50. If you knew that before, sounds like you did. I did not know that, although I was not a big powdered eyeshadow person of late, but I will give you a little backstory here. As I mentioned earlier, I am from Jersey, and us Jersey girls, we like big hair and lots of makeup. At least when I grew up, you know, in the 80s, in the 80s, it was like the bigger the hair. I think they said the bigger the hair, the closer you are to God or something. Yes. And I mean, there were some makeup trends back then that, I'm glad there was no Instagram or Facebook to capture it all. Like, once in a while when you stumble across an old photo, you're like, oh, thank God I can control how many people see this thing. With the hair, it was really the big one for me. But yeah, so, you know, I've definitely found that to be the case now, is less is more, Colleen. Like, just take it easy with the, you know, I had a teal mascara, literally the mascara, my eyelashes were teal. I would match my fingernails to it and the sweater I was wearing, and that was an 80s thing too, but I think also just, you know, being a young girl and wanting to experiment and like, you know, find your identity. And my father was none too pleased about it. He was not a big fan of all the colors and you're beautiful just the way you are. But, you know, you were saying earlier too, LaJuan, like, we don't always want to listen to our fathers. They don't know. Right? What are they?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, you know, so that's kind of, you know, my journey has certainly been, you know, in my youth, wanted to experiment and try all the things and all the colors and everything. And then I did get into college and realized that college takes up a lot of your time. You know, there's a lot of studying, and there's a lot of, especially if you are a fine artist and, you know, a perfectionist in any way, because you gotta, one of my professors called it, you know, you gotta run the numbers. You just gotta do it. You gotta do it. And our very first assignment, I'll never forget, this professor, Drew Brown, he was from Paterson, New Jersey. And he basically said, he handed everyone a stack of 100 pieces of paper. And he said, tomorrow, I want every one of those, I want a drawing on every single one. And I thought, oh my God, this is college? What am I getting into here? And the idea was what we talked about earlier with creativity, was to kind of like, you just want to get your pencil moving. You want to get it. And, you know, these are throwaways. This is just exercise, get those muscles moving, get the creative juices flowing. And I'll never forget, I brought them in, and each drawing that I did was right in the center of the picture, or center of the paper. And it was as, you know, it was things like a flower, or it was a whatever, it was an object or a thing. And he just like this, he was like, in the middle, in the middle, in the middle, in the middle. And he just like, and they went on the floor, those picture, all those. And I was like, what's happening? But it was an exercise in that creativity. And, you know, I remember thinking, the kid sitting next to me, his were all just like smears of color on the, and this kid was just, he said, this is what I was talking about. He's really like getting into it. And I thought, I know nothing about the world or art or anything. But that was just a little side story to say that, you know, you get busy and like all of a sudden other things become priorities, and all of a sudden like matching your eyelashes to your underwear doesn't matter anymore. You know, it's like, who cares about that? So yeah, so I'm curious to hear about your experiences in terms of, you know, how has your makeup evolved or gotten simpler as you've aged? And I know, LaJuan, you talked about this in one of your videos, so I would love to hear from you, kind of elaborate on that.
So here's what's really funny. When I was a younger singer, I mean, when people think of singers or entertainers, we all think of hair and makeup and cameras and all that stuff. And I was wrapped up in, I wanted to be about the music. I didn't care anything about my makeup, my hair. And my mom used to say, girl, if you don't put on some lipstick and do your hair, I'm like, no, it's about the music. And then as I got older, I said, my skirts got shorter, my cleavage was more. I was like, when nobody cared anymore about seeing it. But when I was younger, it was like, no, it's about the music. So I went through a weird evolution of makeup. Didn't really care. Then went into being a little more interested in interested in makeup. But a funny thing sort of happened to me about 14 years ago. I was diagnosed with this sort of rare retinal condition called retinitis pigmentosa. And it just messed with everything in my vision, from my color vision to my night vision to just, you know, definition of seeing things. And it really became difficult for me to like see what was going on with my face. Like I thought I did a great job, and then I'd walk out and my daughter would be like, come Mom, no, and fix it up for me. So I think, you know, I started to just really, there was sort of those things in my life crossing. I was sort of moving more into coaching, and my vision was changing. And so when I stumbled upon Cindy and Boom, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. Like 3 things. I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to worry about this highlighter and that highlighter. And so it was really, it sort of hit me in a very deep and personal way, just because of what I was facing with doing my own makeup. I mean, luckily I have amazing friends and colleagues who are in the business, and they always brush me up and finish me up if we're on camera or something like that. And of course, if you're doing television, they have crews to do that for you. But just as far as doing my own makeup, I said, you know what? I don't want the stress of it anymore. I really don't. And if I could have 3 things that solved all of this, and I felt really good, and I was so happy. Yeah. So that's sort of how I literally chanced upon it.
Yeah, same. Trio, and you're kind of out the door in a couple minutes. For me too. I think for me it was more when it really hit home when I became a mother. Of course, I did not know about Boom then, but you know, there was just no time for any of that. And I think that, you know, you look at yourself differently too, and you think like, I don't know that I need all that extra window dressing. So
you don't.
Yeah. How about you, Sandy?
Oh, wow. I'm thinking of the evolution of all of that. And, you know, I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, and we were only allowed to put Vaseline on our eyelashes. But in the 70s, I remember using 3 shades of blue. You know, you had different colors for the layers of your eye. And of course, your blue eyelid walked in the door before you did, because it was so, you know, all those different evolutions. But I think, you know, talking to people watching, especially if you experiment at home when you're not trusting not wearing your usual makeup, and you can just play. Walk over to your window and get the natural light with a mirror and look at how cool it looks to use the boom and that you know, the boomstick color. It's such a natural blend. Now, when I first put it on, I think, oh, it's too much, and then it sort of dissipates and blends, and it's so beautiful. And so I think that advice would be the biggest thing, is just to try it before anything.
Right.
But just this morning, I saw something that made me think I have to talk about this tonight. And it's something I watched a lot in my business as a hairstylist and a colorist, and I taught makeup and everything, was that women would tend to get stuck trying to keep themselves looking good and being caught up with whatever was trend in clothes or whatever, but their hair would stay the same that they had when they were graduating college, or their makeup. And I saw someone this morning, it was this brilliant woman who was an engineer and then worked in all kinds of things. And she'd written a book. And there she said, I know she was like me in her 70s somewhere, but her makeup was so heavy. Like you said, Colleen, back from the 80s maybe, but there was a lot of black around her eyes, and it was just like coal liner all the way around, and like almost black shadow, and then too much blush, and then too much everything. And you could tell it was powder too. It was like on top of her face instead of enhancing her face.
Right.
And I looked at that woman on the national camera and thought, oh, wow. How you would love to help somebody like that, to see the beauty that's inside of them that they're masking, you know, it's like that mask. And I know for me, it took me a bit, because I would go into the salon and have to have more, because there's so many lights, like being on camera or something. There's so many lights when you're working with color, etc. But little by little, I saw I could do less and less and less. So, you know, that would be my main advice, to just sort of try it.
Yeah.
And also, there's something called mirror work that Louise Hay talked about Reinvention when she was, you know, I think 60. She started her radio show and had all of her things go on. But she talks about mirror work, where you stand in front of your mirror in the morning, in the bathroom, and you look into your eyes and you say, I love you. And you look at yourself and you look deep into your eyes and keep looking for the beauty that you have. Because eventually, at first it's weird, but eventually you step back and go, this boom stuff really works.
Yeah.
I feel great, because it's coming from inside as well. You know, it's nurture from inside.
Yeah. And I'm always so surprised. And I say always, because every time I use, for as far as makeup is concerned, I use the Boomstick Trio. That's it. That's all I use. And I'm always so surprised at, one, how simple, and two, you know, I feel like, girl, you look good. Like you look alive. You got your, you know, you look joyful. And so we do have a lot of people asking in the comments about specifically what products do you use. Is it just Boomstick? For me, it's just the Boomstick Trio in terms of like any sort of makeup. And that's all I have on tonight. That and Boom Bright, our mascara. But just curious if you know, your makeup routine, do you wear other products, or is it just Boom for you? And kind of how do you use it? For me, I go with I start, you know, I cleanse my face in the morning with Boom Clean, and then I put on, usually it's Boom Gold, because it's super lightweight as far as a moisturizer. I know, LaJuan, I know you like Boom Silk. I know you. I love it too. I love it too. But for my face, I use the Boom Gold because it absorbs really well. And then that, you know, I kind of go, I don't need to have any sort of makeup of any kind on for, you know, for a normal day, but, you know, come on camera tonight, you know, I'm definitely going to put a little color. I I will wait a little while, let that gold fully absorb, and then just kind of highlight my cheekbones. And I do use it on my eyelids. I don't know if you can tell, but that gives just gives sort of that, my face, just that color of, you know, like it looks like my blood's flowing and I'm happy and joyful. And that's really what Cindy intended, especially when she chose that color. You know, as we say, you know, even on our site, and we talk about it all the time, how it's just one color, but it's good for any skin tone. It's really meant to enhance your, you know, enhance your features, and the color itself works with any skin tone. And so I'm curious if you use other things and kind of how you apply it. I do my moisturizer and then I put a little bit of color on, and that's kind of it. It's that simple.
So I'll go. Boom Silk is my jam. I do love it. But I'm now madly in love with Nectar. I have to be honest. And so, oh my gosh, Nectar's amazing. So my basic morning routine is I'll put on either a little bit of Nectar or Boom Silk, depends, or sometimes Glow. I'll switch all three of them depending on how I'm feeling, and if my skin feels a little dry or it's a little more moist than, you know, normal, whatever. And then I use Glow. I use color, and I usually put it on my cheeks and my lips and on my eyes. And then I use glimmer, and I just highlight my nose usually, and my eyes as well, and sometimes under my brow and cheeks. And I will use my fingers, or if a brush is close by, I'll grab that and just for a little more blend. Yeah. Tonight, I also have on bright, so I have the mascara on. I think I have on a eyeliner from the dollar store, nothing fancy. And I honestly have one foundation that is not even my color right now because I threw all of that stuff away. And so I got a little browner over the summer, and I stole my daughter's tinted moisturizer just to, like, you know, just sort of even it up a little bit, but not even a full foundation. So that's it. And I honestly, during the day, I won't even put on a tinted moisturizer. I'll just do my colors and go. And I feel like same thing. It just lifts you up. It just feels fun and warm, and just like you sort of, it just brightens you up.
Yeah. How about you, Sandy? What is your kind of routine?
Oh my gosh, routine. Well, I do love the Boom Silk from head to toe, but if I'm on camera, which I am a lot lately because I do a lot of Zoom coaching, and I'm doing some videos these days, I will use the cotton, because the silk tends to be too reflective with the camera. So I love the Boom cotton. And like both of you, I love the gold and the Nectar and all that stuff. But generally a routine would be cotton. And I often will use the color just a tiny bit, even if I'm just going to be working out, because it makes me feel awake, alive, and refreshed. And like, there's something about that just makes your eyes pop and you just feel good already. So I do that. So going on a Zoom coaching call early in the morning, I do pretty much the color with the mascara as well. I do use a little bit of, like you said, that tinted kind of moisturizer or concealer, just because I have a few little brown spots that are like drive me nuts. I don't think driving everybody else. Like I have a huge one on the side that does not bother me, but there's one right here that makes me feel very like everyone sees it, you know, it's like that thing. And I'm the one that sees it. So I will sort of blend that away if I'm going to be on camera. But it's pretty much the Boom color that I use the most. Because you can reapply it. Well, you can reapply all of it so well.
Right.
And that is
how they layer. You can kind of give it a little bit more of a boost if you put a little bit more.
So, you know, for this type of look, for being on camera, I did do my cheeks, my eyes, just that little corner V, my forehead, down the sides of my neck, to get that whole overall glow. I will use the glimmer on the tops of my cheeks, depending on how close I'm going to be to the camera, because again, that might flash back.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of that.
And one of the things, though, that I love about the Glo is, you know, I moved back up north, so it's really protective to go out into harsh weather, even in heat, but in the cold. Something I learned years and years ago about skincare was that if you use a regular moisturizer and you go out in the cold, where it's going to be freezing, it can freeze on your face. And so you can actually get more damage of faster frostbite. So the Glo doesn't do that, and you get a really nice protection. So I'll always add that. And I have it everywhere all the time because I'll use it on my lips a lot to keep that moisture going.
Yeah, I have it. In fact,
and the color over it. Yeah. So I love it. And I do have the mascara on. And I layered up more tonight, you know, because you can start early in the morning and just, okay, I need to touch up. Yeah. And I'll touch up with the Glo and the color and do a little bit more. And then that mascara, I put a second coat of mascara.
Yeah, well, it's working. You are glowing.
It's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love what you said about the Glo too. And silk really is, you know, well, I should say Glo is silk in a stick. Really, it's really the same ingredients, just a higher concentration of the beeswax in the stick. And we actually liken this to a protective mantle. So I love how you describe that, you know, going out into the elements a little bit. It's, you know, it's not SPF, not protecting you that way. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to say it in that way, but it is a protective mantle against the elements in a way, you know. And I actually use this on my cuticles.
Yes.
You know, places that you just don't think. Of course, it's great for touch up, but and for lip balm. It's the only sort of lip balm that I will use. But yeah, it's interesting that you said that. And you know, you can't beat the portability. It's like in your pocket. I have one in my pocket. I have one in my purse. So, there's one on my bedside table.
If you're living in a city that has pollution, that's another protection of you know, wearing the silk or the stick.
Yeah. So we have a question that came in actually, LaJuan. This I think is for you. When you were talking about like we said you're a silk girl, which you are, but then you said you're really loving Nectar. And so this question was just really to kind of just speak to that a little bit more. Like, what's the difference for you? What are you enjoying about Nectar now? You know, I know you still love silk. But, you know,
I think it's sort of what Sandy said. There is just a little bit more of a sheen to silk. So when you put it on, you know, you'll feel it a little bit, you know, sort of to the touch. It does eventually just sort of blend in and sort of get absorbed. But the Nectar to me is just a pinch dryer, but oh my gosh, the smell of Nectar is amazing. It's like sandalwood. I don't know what it is. And I really just feel like when I put it on, the smallest amount spreads so incredibly well. And it just feels, I don't know, I wish I had better words for it. It just feels great. It really, you know, it just feels so good. And I don't know about, I can't speak for anybody else, but I really feel like my skin has gotten better using these products. I know that they are natural, and I don't know if that means I'm just not putting more junk on my face, but it's my overall skin condition has gotten better from using this. So that's, you know, that's my testimony. That's for sure.
Me too. I was not good about, you know, I will say I wash my face. Of course, I wash my face, but you know, just being super diligent about using good product, and especially when you have 2 young kids, and you know, you have that sort of that period in your life, that phase of your life where, you know, it's not about you, it's about everybody else and everything else, right? And that's what we're talking about too, is kind of bringing it back around to us because we deserve it. But I will say that once I really started, you know, embracing a routine, I just feel like that's what I lacked. I used some good products, but there was no routine about it, around it, I should say. And my skin improved as well. And I think it was just because I was very diligent about, okay, it's time to wash my face and put this product on, where I was maybe a little more haphazard about it. Just like whenever I had a chance, I'd put on a mask or put on a, you know, moisturizer or whatever. And now I'm just much more about the routine of it. And I kind of embrace that you know, that's part of my ritual, part of starting my day, and incorporating it like that has, you know, I guess the consistency, like you're saying, you start using good products and your skin's going to improve for it.
Yeah.
So I hope that we answered, I think that was Liz asking that question. Liz, I hope that we answered that question for you. And then we have one more question. I'm not sure. So from Cheryl, she's saying she has red cheeks and what should she wear? And I think she means like on her cheeks, or, you know, like what type of makeup to wear. I too, Cheryl, I will say this. I am of Irish descent, and I have a very pinkish, reddish complexion. And I tend to have, you know, very pink cheeks too. And so I'm just very, I really just use that color on my cheeks very sparingly and just on the apples. I don't do the full like Grace Jones, you know, I already have a little pink there. Love Grace Jones. Shout out to Grace Jones. But I do just kind of keep it to the apples. And then the natural pinkness, I feel like just sort of becomes part of, oh, that she has such, you know, pink cheeks. Mm-hmm. But then you're kind of controlling the shape of it a little bit more. Yeah, that would be my advice, being someone with pink cheeks too. Let's see. Someone is asking here if we're going to show how we apply the Boom Trio. I mean, I'm certainly happy to sort of demonstrate it if neither of you ladies is up for that. Although I already have it on, so my point of like not going ultra pink on the video, I can sort of just demonstrate it a little bit. And again, I already have it on. I'm not looking in a mirror. I am just looking at this little video of myself, so bear with me. But essentially, I start with the Glo, and Glo, you know, you can never get too much of this. I put a little bit around, and again, I have already moisturized with gold. And so I put a little bit around my eyes. This is where I get a little dry right here. I also, you know, will be very generous with this on my lips. It's the best lip balm ever. And then I go right to color, do a little bit, and I'm not going to actually do it because you can already see that I have it and I'm a little pink, but I just do really on the apples of my cheeks, and I kind of blend back a little bit. I also use it on my lips. And then I think, LaJuan, you were saying you just use your finger. And that's the beauty of these, because they're cream based. Yeah. You can, now I am actually putting a little extra, so I will have really extra. My son is leaving, so I'm waving to him. I just love that he said, bye, Mom.
Oh,
I think that's so sweet. But yeah, so I just use my fingertips to kind of blend that in a little bit. And again, because it's cream based, like you really can't mess it up as long as you can feel where your eyes are.
Exactly, which I need.
and then the glimmer, you know, for me, this is the glimmer. I don't use it as much like on the daily. I would use this as a little more special for me. If I'm wearing a blouse where my clavicle is showing, or short sleeve, I will put a little bit. And as far as applying it, I use the stick on this one. I don't use my finger as much. Although I do, if you want a little bit of like sparkle, you know, you can just put it, like you said, LaJuan, right under your brow. And, you know, some people will put a little above that. This may even tone down the pinkness. Of course, I'm touching my face, and that alone is going to make my face kind of get a little pinker. Cheryl, just that was for you, but just, you know, it'll calm down. And I do find that it does calm down. But then, yeah, just a little bit on my brow, and, you know, maybe a little on my clavicle, and I'll rub it in a little bit, just so you have like that little sparkle. And on your arms, wherever your skin is showing up here, you can just add a little bit. Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty much it.
I wear glimmer every day. I don't even care about it. As I said in my video, I literally put on glimmer to go to the grocery store. I just
love it.
It goes back to having fun, and I love the fact that it feels great. feels fun too. It's fun.
Right. Right. And why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a thing too, growing up, was like, and I'm going to go Jersey accent on this one. You never leave the house without your lips or your lashes. And that was the thing. Like, you put something on your lips, just so that you look awake and alive. And this is sort of that. It's like, this is the modern grown-up version of that. So this is the modern grown-up version of that. You are, you're get a little bit of color on your lips, and then, with our bright, of course, now we can zhuzh up the lashes. And that's really, what's so nice about it is that's where people are looking anyway. When you're out interacting, well, maybe not today with the mask thing, but that's where they're looking. They're listening to you. They're listening to you speak. They're watching your mouth, and they're watching your eyes.
Yeah.
They're not concerned with, again, you have the blue and, it doesn't really quite match your shirt. They don't care. What they're looking at the best version of you. When you give a little bit of color on your lip and a little bit on your eye, it makes you feel better. Like you're out there, bringing your best face out into the world. And I feel like you can do it so simply with just a couple sticks. So hopefully that answers everyone's questions. As far as like how we use it, it's a little bit different for everybody, but it's still, the ingredients are the same, 3 sticks.
Yes. Also, we could, call attention to going to the blog on the website and just go. There's so many videos from us ambassadors that have demonstrated it. I know mine, you have to scroll down a bit, but I do demonstrate that in mine. And we all do it differently. I think that's what I've loved watching the other women that I've seen. People create different ways to use, like the glimmer. Like, I would have never put it on my nose, but I always put it here.
Yeah.
And down here. It's really interesting to me to watch, and I put the color in the corner of my eye, but I put it everywhere else. So, I mean, it's just really fun to just experiment and play with what looks really good on you.
Yeah. And the thing about it just being one color, well, I mean, it's kind of 2 colors. You can highlight with the, with the glimmer, but simplifying it down till you don't have to really choose. And this is not to say, it's not super fun to get a palette of different colors and play with that too. But for me anyway, and I think for, a lot of women who are busy, this just takes a lot of the, like a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Absolutely.
You can kind of get different looks with it. You can, use a little more glimmer, and then you get a little more of a pinkish, and pearlescence to it versus just the, just the pink of the color. So I think, let's see, do we have any other questions? I don't know that we have any other questions. I think that was the last one. I do want to remind everyone that you can still, if you're still hanging in here with us, you can still enter our $50 giveaway. The link should be right below. I always wanted to do that. And yeah, you can sign up right now. And before we go, this has been so much fun, and I would love to hear if you ladies have any other thoughts around any of the topics that we covered tonight. We would love to hear anything else you want to share.
I would love to just quickly tell one of the things that really sort of sealed the deal for me with Boom was I tripped down a YouTube rabbit hole of Cindy doing sort of just, she was in her home and just talking about what her morning ritual was. And the first thing she said was, the best moisturizer you could ever have is the one that your own body makes. It knows exactly what it needs to produce for your skin. So if you're lucky enough to just have natural moist skin, good for you. If not, why don't you try this? And I said, what beauty brand has ever told you to use your own perspiration before you know, selling their product. And that was all I needed to hear. I just thought there was something so genuine in how she spoke about beauty and what we need, or even more so what we don't need. But by the same token, she also was never judgmental about anything you wanted to try, even, you know, cosmetic surgery. She said, just do it for the right reasons. Do it for you, not because you're trying to make someone else happy.
Yeah.
And if you're good with that, rock on. And that was all I needed to hear. I've been a fan ever since. So if you ever get to just sort of see some of her videos and hear her story and just how she looked at beauty more so inner than outer, I think you'd all be fans of what she's created.
Yeah, agreed. I love that you brought that up. It's so true. And I will find myself, you know, and I've obviously seen all the videos too, but I will find myself, you know, just watching one after the other. She just had such a spirit about her, such a, you know, a way, like an elegance that, and to your point, an acceptance for however you want to do it. You do you, you know, if you are, we talk a lot on Ladies Night about the silver hair, you know, the silver hair journey, and I am growing my silver out. That's not to say you have to grow your silver out, because guess what? If you couldn't tell, I liked blonde for a long time, you know, like I went with the blonde, and I just decided, like, let me see. And of course, you know, the pandemic was helpful in that way. Like, I can't, I'm a colorist anyway. I thought, well, if there was ever a time, maybe I'll try it now. And I'm actually liking what's coming in. You never really know how it's going to come in for you. You know, everybody's a little bit different. Mine, I call this the silver bow. It's sort of like in the middle of it's very strange, where it's still brown in the front. And then I have my, you know, blonde, my, you know, years worth of blonde at the bottom. And I'm just like, I'm having fun with it right now. And I think that, you know, you made that point perfectly. And what Cindy was always about was, you know, do it for the fun of it. If it's fun for you, if it's fun for you to color your hair, then keep coloring your hair, because that's going to bring out the beauty, you know, the rest of the beauty in the rest of you. Is if you're having fun and you are happy, you know, that's the best makeup and hair you can ever have.
That's right.
Yeah. How about you, Sandy? Anything else you want to share?
Well, I have to just ditto everything. Yeah, it was definitely the very first video I ever saw of Cindy had me sold. I thought, okay, I have to look at this. And so then I start looking at the fact that there was that stick I was looking for. So it is just genuinely so dedicated to the health of your skin and allowing your own true beauty to shine through. I think that's the big thing. You're not masking, you're enhancing.
Yeah.
You know, the best.
Love that. Yeah. Well, I think that is a beautiful note to kind of end our really fun, and it's just been such a beautiful evening and so much fun getting to know you ladies. I do want to say, if you want to let folks know where they can find you online, if you'd like to do that, you can certainly let them know now, and then that'll be part of the replay as well. So if you want to let them know where they can find you, feel free to do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sandy. Go first.
Yeah. Well, of course, you can find me on Facebook. Sandy Evenson is my personal one, and my professional page is Sandy Evenson, Personal Empowerment Coach. And from there, you can see the website and all of that as well.
Awesome. And I'm at LaJuanCarter.com, so you can see my resume and contact me for vocal coaching or hire me as a singer.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. It has been more than a pleasure. It's been so much fun. And I thank you for your time and for, you know, sharing your evening with everyone here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks, Colleen.
Thanks. Hope to talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.